Welcome back to Football Daily, ladies and gentlemen, where today we're making some predictions. That's right, the international break has finally wrapped up, meaning domestic football is coming back to our screens. There's very few games left at this stage. Some teams have as little as 10 cup finals in the case of Arsenal. So today I'm going to be predicting every scoreline remaining for the Premier League and seeing what happens to the table when I do that. We're going to go week by week, get constant updates. I'm going to try and factor in European football as well to give it some context. Okay? Let's get it on. Now, we're not just focusing on the top of the league here. We're, of course, focusing on what is one of the most hotly contested relegation scraps in Premier League history this year. And to start, we have to rewind the clock all the way back to game week 7, where fixtures were missed, meaning they are being replayed in the second half of this season. Let's start early doors. Bournemouth, they ain't beating Brighton. Some of these games, by the way, I won't be contextualising. If I have to give a reason behind every result I've picked across the second half of the season, we will literally be here for hours. So some of them I'm just going to slam in. I'm going to try and pick out the more important fixtures and some of the teams that are involved in either title races, top 4 contention, relegation battles. You'll see as we go on. But yeah, let's be real. Bournemouth are losing to Brighton. Okay, the other 3 fixtures in this old game week that will be sporadically played across the course of the second half of the season. Hopefully, once I'm caught up, it starts to make a little bit more sense. But yeah, I'm going for Leeds Forest draw. That's a huge fixture, by the way, in the relegation battle. I think Villa beat a really poor Leicester City. And I can see Newcastle dropping points away at West Ham. I don't think West Ham are particularly exceptional, but Newcastle across the second half of the season, in front of goal, have struggled. If Isaac doesn't stay fit, then I could see them having a little bit of a drop-off. Nevertheless, Isaac at the moment is crushing it, guaranteed to score against United at the weekend, as I've just jinxed it. Chelsea versus Liverpool, another fixture that needs to be played. I'm going to go for a Chelsea win, just on the basis of Liverpool's terrible away form in 2023, one of the worst away records in Europe, and the fact that Chelsea are going to be trying lots of different stuff in the build-up to their Champions League fixtures. This game, I can just see Chelsea edging based on very, very little. Nearly caught up to real-life game weeks here then. Newcastle versus Brighton. Not an easy fixture again for Newcastle. You know, Brighton are just so good. Like, they're legit top 4 contenders, Brighton. I'm going to go for a draw. 2-2. Newcastle don't concede many goals though, do they? So let's change that to 1-1 because it might come down to goal difference. You never know. Man United at home to Brentford, a Brentford team that always beat the top 6. And I could see Man United dropping points there as well. I'm going to go for back-to-back 1-alls in there. The final game week then that we need to do to catch up. Man City going to absolutely hammer West Ham. I can see that being 3-0. I think Brighton will beat Man United. I just hate going to the Amex. I hate it. And De Zerbi's just got on playing beautiful football. United looking for revenge, obviously. Already beaten United once this season. Brighton under Graham Potter. And yeah, I think Liverpool will do Fulham at home. So that pretty much catches us up to fixtures we're going to see this weekend. You know, the likes of Manchester City versus Liverpool, the top 4 clash between Newcastle and Manchester United. So let's smack in the scores and then I'll give you some reasons. Okay, game week 29. I think Manchester City get the business done against Liverpool. I've already spoken about Liverpool's poor away record when I said that Chelsea would beat them at the Bridge. And I think that's going to be the case for Manchester City at the Etihad. Just a step too far. You know, Bajcetic out for the season is a big, big blow for Liverpool. I don't know whether Thiago is going to make this game, but it seems doubtful. Luis Diaz, probably quite doubtful for this one as well. So I'm going to go for a Man City win there. Bournemouth 1, Fulham 1. Brighton beating Brentford. 2 fantastic teams there. Palace, Roy Hodgson, the new manager, bounce against Leicester City. Arsenal, comfortable victory that over Leeds. Some other standout results, I think, here. Newcastle 2, Manchester United 2. I'm going for an Alexander Isak double there. And I think Everton might get the job done against Tottenham. Whisper it. But I can see Deitch doing Stellini. What does that do for the table? Unbelievably, because I've already filled in other results, that puts Brighton 3rd. Now, we've got to be careful here because Brighton have caught up their games in hand. And of course, they do have games in hand in real life. I'm a big believer clearly in Brighton. Let's see how long they remain in the top 4, but that has surprised me. And Leicester drop into the relegation spots with that as well. Okay, what is that? 9 games to go. Okay, game week 30. I've got Man United beating Everton at home. I think Sean Dyche's side are going to be really strong at Goodison Park, but I think Manchester United, with the return, hopefully, of Christian Eriksen around this sort of date, and Anthony Martial, should have too much, really, for that Everton side. Villa 1, Forest 0, Brentford 1, Newcastle 0. Big upset at the G-Tech Community Stadium there, but Newcastle having to go to Brentford, it's a horror place to go. It is a horror place to go. Fulham to beat West Ham. Leicester taking points off Bournemouth. Spurs beating Brighton. I think they will find their feet to some level under Stellini, even though I've got them losing away against Everton this weekend. Harry Kane goals. Yeah, Wolves 0, Chelsea 2. Leeds 1-1. Southampton getting battered by Man City 4-0. And then I think this might be a game that Arsenal drop points in. That's not a huge problem. A draw is fine. At Anfield, it's no disgrace. We got done for 7 there. Let's see what that does to the table. Again, that moves Man United back up to 3rd, and it tightens that gap down to 3 points. I believe, though, in amongst this, incoming are Champions League fixtures, which I do think are going to have a major effect. Game week 31, I've got a Newcastle away win against Unai Emery's Aston Villa, which isn't going to be easy. They have taken, I believe, since Unai Emery took over, the 3rd most points of any team in the Premier League, so that's going to be a tough place to go. Chelsea, inconsequential, but a result against Brighton, 1-1. Everton drawing against Fulham. Southampton losing at home to Palace. Tottenham, a comfy win over Bournemouth. I've got Brentford beating Wolves. Man United getting the job done away at Forest. Again, not going to be an easy place to go, the City ground there. I've got Arsenal beating West Ham. I think they'll be too good from there. Man City, despite the fact this is after a European game, so they would have just played Bayern Munich midweek, I think they'll have way too much for that Leicester City side, unfortunately for Arsenal. And then Leeds taking a point off of Liverpool. Again, Liverpool on the road. Something's going to have to change drastically by this stage. Let's see what it does for the table. Bosh. Arsenal still top, still a 3-point gap. Man United now 5 points clear of Newcastle in 5th. Tottenham also involved. As you can see at the bottom, though, Southampton, Bournemouth, and Forest all struggling. But look how close it is. 1 point separating Forest with Leeds in 14th. Moving on to game week 32. Again, this is the game after a European fixture for the likes of Manchester City. Arsenal, though, aren't in any competitions other than the Premier League. I think they absolutely take Southampton to the cleaners. 4-0 victory there. I've got Fulham, Leeds drawing, Bournemouth losing to West Ham, Palace drawing against Everton, Brentford beating Villa, Liverpool smoking Nottingham Forest, a draw between Leicester and Wolves 0-0. That could be a ball fest, couldn't it? United beating Chelsea. Chelsea, again, are going to have just played in a major European game. Obviously, the Champions League is going to be their priority, so I can see them fielding a very, very strong team, maybe being a little bit tired for this. Although United would have played in the Europa League against Sevilla too, I think Chelsea will have given more to that game than Man United will have had to give against Sevilla, potentially. Newcastle drawing against Tottenham. I think Tottenham might be slightly resurgent under Stellini. Not a total new manager bounce, but I can see Kane just scoring an awful lot of goals. And then a big result. Manchester City, after Bayern Munich, going away to Brighton. It's a horrible fixture. It is a horrible fixture, and I think they might drop points there. So I've gone for a draw, and that will extend Arsenal's lead at the top to 5 points, which is a huge moment with just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games to play. Moving on to game week 33 then, and this has the big fixture. Manchester City versus Arsenal. I've gone, spoiler alert, for a Man City win here. I think they get the job done like they did at the Emirates, 2-1. I just think they've got slightly too much power for Arsenal. That's the sort of fixture where if Pep Guardiola doesn't tinker, they will win. Wolves against Palace, pretty inconsequential at this stage, 1-0. Villa 2-1 Fulham. Southampton 1-0 Bournemouth. Leeds drawing against Leicester. Forest losing to Brighton, who I've got winning an awful lot of games across the second half of the season, by the way. I think Liverpool get the job done against a floundering West Ham side. Chelsea beat Brentford. United versus Tottenham is also this weekend. It's a great weekend of football. And I've gone for a draw at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Let's see what that does for the table. That brings the gap, of course, down to 2 points between Arsenal and Man City. Man United, 62 points, so the only side in the 60s. Not a great goal difference, you'd have to say, though. And then it's very tight. Newcastle, Brighton, Tottenham down to 6th, Liverpool up to 7th. How have I got Tottenham down in 6th? Bottom 3 is still the same. There's a little bit of a gap starting to open up. Forest, Southampton, Bournemouth. Game week 34, let's fly through some of these. I've got West Ham drawing. I've got Leeds beating Bournemouth. I've got Brighton winning again. Honestly, the fixtures across the second half of the season for Brighton, they are ones to watch. I've got Brentford winning, Arsenal beating Chelsea. I just don't think Chelsea are going to have enough for Arsenal at this stage. I've got Man United winning, I've got Man City winning. I've got Liverpool beating Tottenham as well, which I think will have a big effect on this table. And I've got Newcastle winning yet again. Let's see what that does. Probably not too much change here. As I thought, not too much change, but Forest are now 3 points adrift at the bottom. Goal difference, I'm really mudding these guys. But they are seriously starting to get cut adrift. Game week 35 is chock-a-block with massive, massive ties. And the European games midweek after this. So some of the big sides, if they're in Champions League semi-finals, Europa League semi-finals, might be focusing on other things. Chelsea, for instance, might well be in a Champions League semi-final here. You never know. I think it's unlikely, but I still think they get the job done against Bournemouth. I've got Tottenham beating Palace, Wolves, Villa as a draw. I think Liverpool, they will beat Brentford. Man City going to hammer through Leeds, even if they're in a Champions League semi-final the following midweek. A massive game for Arsenal, this. I've got it 1-1. I just think the idea of going to St James's Park is a hellish trip. I really do. That's why I haven't given too many results away from Newcastle at home. So I'm going to go for a draw there. I think Man United also drop some points against West Ham. Maybe their focus is going to be on the Europa League at this stage. Fulham beating Leicester. Brighton again. This is what I'm talking about. Brighton's fixture list. 2-1. Brighton with Everton at home then. Forest, Southampton drawing. Let's calculate. And that, yeah. Oh, wow. Big changes here. That moves Manchester City top of the table. A huge swing for the first time in a long time. Level on points, but that goal difference is obviously going to be monumental for Manchester City because I just think they're going to start spanking teams on the second half of the season. I've got Man United still in 3rd. Brighton, though, into 4th. What's gone on here? Am I actually saying Brighton are going to finish 4th? I must have done something wrong here. Forest, Southampton, Bournemouth in the bottom 3 still. Brighton in 4th. This is going to have to change. Game week 36, I've got wins for Manchester United, I've got wins for Arsenal, I've got wins for Manchester City, although not the easiest fixture coming off the back of a potential European Cup semi-final going away to Sean Dyche's Everton. Probably going to change that to 2-1. I still think they get the job done, though. I'm expecting big things from Man City. A Brighton loss, though. Finally, a Brighton loss. Obviously, got to go away to the Emirates. I don't see anybody going away to the Emirates and winning across the second half of the season. We've also got Tottenham dropping points. Let's have a look. That flicks Newcastle back up into 4th. Brighton dropped down to 5th. Bottom 3 stays the same. Not too many changes. The penultimate game week of the season, and Brighton are playing Southampton at home. This run of fixtures for Brighton, I've got them finishing in the 4th spot, I'm telling you. I've got United winning away at Bournemouth as well. Man City, tough home game against Chelsea, man. Not an easy fixture at all. Arsenal battering Forest away from home. Tottenham against Brentford, not going to be easy. We know what Brentford are like against some of the top 6, or classically big 6 sides. Everton winning away at Wolves as well, which is a bit of a rogue one. But let's see what that does for the table. I don't think there's an awful lot going to change. Down at the bottom, it's still the same bottom 3. Leicester are like bumbling along, man. They're going to be safe because look at this goal difference. So I basically have relegated Forest, Southampton and Bournemouth at this stage. Man United, I've got in there by about 6 points. Getting to the 70-point mark would be impressive in Erik ten Hag's first season. And then these two, just nothing to separate them going into the final weekend. Final weekend of the season, then I've gone for some shock results in here. I'm not going to lie. I've gone for Arsenal beating Wolves at home. I think that's going to be very, very comfortable. I've gone for Chelsea beating Newcastle, which is going to have a big swing on the top 4 because, again, I've got Brighton beating Villa. I'm not sure about that. I'm going to change that to a draw. I've got Brighton drawing against Villa. And I've got Man City drawing against Brentford. Brentford at the G-Tech, that's going to be bouncing there. They love it when they can get in amongst them. They always seem to take points off of big games when the crowd's up, the cameras are there. I can see that being a draw. Honestly, I've got United beating Fulham at home. Not a massive surprise there. Liverpool winning away, Tottenham winning away. Let's see the final Premier League table by my calculations. Okay, here we go. I've got Arsenal winning the league on 92 points. Comes down to the final day, though, between them and Manchester City, who finished second on 90. Manchester United in third on 75. I've got Newcastle in fourth on 67, level on points with Brighton and Spurs. I've got 3 teams level on points, which is frustrating because I didn't really think about like goal difference and try and put in more realistic score lines. So 3 teams on 67, Liverpool on 66. Oh my days. It's so tight in the top 4 race. At the bottom, I've got Forest, Southampton, Bournemouth going down. So I've put in every result there remaining for the Premier League season. I've tried to take into account European fixtures as well. I want to hear from you guys at home. What did you think of my predictions? Who do you think is going to win the league? Who's going to finish in the top 4? And who's going to finish in the bottom 3? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. We'll see you later. Goodbye.